Welcome, everybody. My name is Stephen Barker. I'm our Director of Communications here at One Goal. I have the privilege of emceeing this conversation. I'm going to ask to join us Marlon Jeffries, who is the Director of Opportunity Build for the Rising Sun Center for Opportunity. Um, I don't know if we have a link to their website, but I am obsessed with this organization. I went on what is it, a rabbit hole, looking at some of their videos and the work that they're doing out in Oakland for students out there. It's absolutely incredible. It's very energizing and exciting to see. So, Marlon, I'm super excited to have join. We've got Carrie Griffith, who's the high school principal at Staunton High School, one of our very proud partners. We love our friends down in Staunton. And then we've got Alicia Williams, who's the special ed teacher and One Goal program director for Digital Arts and Cinema Technology High School. That's out in Brooklyn. So, guys, we've got Oakland, we've got Southern Illinois representing more of the rural scene. We've got Alicia out in the East Coast in New York. So really, like that just is an example of the types of folks that we're bringing together under the big one goal umbrella. And we're very grateful to have these folks joining us today. So whether you call them alternative, progressive, or credentialed pathways, I'm very excited to have these folks share their expertise with us about non-degree options for students. One other quick thing about housekeeping, I live on the train in Chicago. So if you've seen me do these webinars before, you'll know I'll have like a shadow cast over my face in the middle of this. That is the Chicago L going through my past my window. So if I happen to break up slightly, you'll know why. That's why. So before we jump in to start with the conversation, here's an overview of One Goal stuff. So who is One Goal? One Goal's vision is that every student will have an equitable opportunity to achieve their greatest post-secondary aspirations. So we all know that students have an incredible amount of potential and ambition and huge aspirations, but the disparity in post-secondary outcomes doesn't reflect a lack of ambition. It reflects an opportunity gap that they face in and out of high school. So on average, what we calculate is that students receive less than one class period's worth of high quality college and career advising per year of high school. So judging on a 400 to 1 counselor to student ratio, that breaks down to about 38 minutes of advising. And we know that that just isn't enough to be making the best decisions or the most important decisions of your life. So One Goal, we imagine a world where every student in your school is affirmed, engaged, and supported in reaching their greatest post-secondary aspirations. So One Goal's mission is to lead the movement to transform post-secondary advising and support. So how do we do that? We work with communities across the country primarily in two different ways. One of the ways is through a daily class for high school juniors and seniors, which comes with an extra year of support. So it might be the teacher that teaches that class or someone within the One Goal organization. We stick with them through that first year of post-secondary to help with that transition, to mentor them through some of the tough decisions and make sure that they have all the information that they need. So that's just like math and English or some other subject that are taught during the day. We believe that post-secondary planning must be integrated and receive an equal amount of attention as these other really important subjects. And we also ensure that the teachers that work in schools are supported with effective knowledge to deliver that information to students. And so that's the first way. And then the second way is we provide expert coaching and communities of learning for school and district leaders. And we help them build and strengthen systems and structures that will lead to improved post-secondary outcomes and really close opportunity gaps for those students. So it's the classroom where we're offering that curriculum, and then it's the hands-on coaching for school leaders so that we can kind of integrate these practices school-wide. To date, we have reached over 200,000 students in 10 states across the country. I've been with One Goal for almost 5 years now, and to see these numbers grow year over year, it just boggles the mind. It really is a movement. And so you joining us today, you're part of that movement, and we're very grateful to have you. And our work that we do has really strong impact on students. And 80% of One Goal high school students and high school graduates enroll in some post-secondary pathway, and that's compared to 51% of their peers from similar backgrounds. We want to invite you to learn more about these important offerings that we're partnering with schools to do by going to onegoal.org. Plenty of information there and ways to reach out to us as well. Let's go to some stats. So as of 2024, this is what we know. About 63% of US high school graduates were enrolled in college, and that means 37% were not enrolled. So that's more than 1 in 3 students. So regardless of how students are currently approaching workforce pathways, the reality is that a significant portion of graduates are already choosing or ending up in options outside of that immediate college enrollment. So for educators, a lot of the folks here on this call, that raises important questions. If over a third of students are not going straight into college, how are we preparing them? And how are we supporting them to make informed, high quality decisions? So this isn't, about diminishing college or making, like, let's not set college aside. This is, college remains a powerful pathway for many students, but it's clear that it's not the only path students are taking. So the real opportunity for us that's in front of us to ensure that every pathway, whether college or workforce or progressive pathways, trade school, whatever you call it, it's intentional, informed, and aligned to really long-term success. They're going to take it with them well into adulthood. So I want to bring on, have her come off mute, Alicia Williams, who works really closely with students and sees these decisions play out in real time. So Alicia is one of our program directors at OneGoal. So remember, I mentioned that the ways that OneGoal delivers services, and one is through this 2-year program for juniors and seniors. Alicia teaches that in her school. So I'm very excited to have her join us. Alicia, could you please just kind of jump into and share why workforce development is such an important part of advising right now?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. I think that workforce development is so important because college obviously isn't the only path to economic mobility. For some students, a well-designed workforce pathway can actually lead to stable careers, strong earnings, and real long-term growth, especially when it's connected to what the labor market actually needs. And the reality is, students are already choosing these alternative pathways. The data shows that clearly they're making these decisions whether or not schools have like formal systems in place, which means a lot of them are navigating it on their own. That's where we come in. Students need guidance to understand both the risks of the opportunities. Not every program leads to the same outcomes. Some truly open doors. Others can leave students with debt, wasted time, or very limited options. So for me, as an educator, it's not about steering students toward college or steering them away from it. I think it's more about making sure that we apply the same level of rigor, research, and care to workforce options that we apply to college pathways. Our job as educators is to help students make informed decisions, not just available ones. I think it's clear to all of us that the future of work is changing. Traditional 2 and 4 year degrees will continue playing a major role, of course, of students preparing for that future. But it's also clear that the fastest growing opportunities for students aren't only for those with college degrees.
Thank you, Alicia. And I want to go back to that quote, if we can, that was up on the screen and point to that. So, the ability of AI to handle office tasks such as copywriting, data analysis seems more likely to harm white-collar jobs than blue-collar jobs where hands-on skills remain paramount. In some cases, AI is turning back the clock. So AI is obviously, I mean, gosh, if I watch one more webinar about AI, I'm going to jump off my roof. But it is, it is truly like it is here, and that is maybe the elephant in the room. We're going to probably touch a little bit on some of our answers today. That's not the theme of today, but that is definitely a disrupting force and something that is ushering in this question. I know there's conversations about doctors. We're going to be getting diagnoses from AI someday, but nurses are the ones that know how to comfort a baby. And so these like hands-on jobs, often that come from trades and certifications and credentialing programs, in some ways are really the leading the jobs of the future. So it's a really critical that we have this conversation. So Alicia just shared some really some highlights on the why behind expanding our idea of advising to include workforce development pathways. This is about creating clarity, consistency, shared ownership across all adults working in schools. And while many of us agree on the importance of having, built into the guidance students receive, we also know there are really real barriers that can make this challenging. So before we move into specific strategies and tactics for how to do that, we want to hear from you again. So we're going to launch into another quick poll. What is the biggest challenge you face when recommending workforce programs? And again, there's no right or wrong answer here. Most schools face more than one of these at the same time. So some of you may have built this into your school-wide approach, while others are beginning to explore what that could look like. So what does this mean for you? So see the results coming in. And it looks like I want to give people another second to answer. Biggest challenges. Got about 50% of folks that have put their answers in. So if you haven't seen the poll question, jump in and give us your take. Okay. So the results are in. It looks like the number one was knowing which programs are high quality. So vetting for quality is one of the, it's what we come up against all the time. For one goal is we're thinking about recommending programs to students as well. So that's not surprising. Second was limited partnerships. So Alejandra, I see your quote, your comment about looking for ways to maximize high school graduates that are looking for jobs and can turn to careers. This is what we're talking about. I think a lot of schools are struggling to find real workforce partners that connect students to actual careers. So you came to the right place to get some answers to that, or to start making some connections. And then lack of clear data and outcomes. So recommending workforce programs comes with a few really common challenges. First, knowing which programs are high quality. Next is the lack of clear data and outcomes. And then also family or student perception can also be a barrier. Misconceptions or, past experiences sometimes make students hesitant to participate. I think there's a lot of stigma around these types of pathways. And then there's limited partnerships, like I mentioned. So more connections with employers and community organizations mean more options for students. And finally, there's the time and capacity question. So researchers are researching and recommending programs takes time. And people are putting questions into AI chatbots and not sure if the information is right. And so it takes time for educators to really hone those skills and understand, where the sources of information are most reliable, and streamlining guides or centralized resources to make that easier. So understanding these challenges helps us better support students in connecting with the right workforce programs. So the good news is that the panel that we have brought together today, we're going to include some practical ways to combat these exact challenges. All right, so one goal, a little bit about what we do. So we evaluate workforce programs with the same rigor as we do 2- and 4-year pathways, these degree pathways. So we focus on outcomes. Is this going to lead to real world, job placement? Is it going to lead to family sustaining wages? Is that career something that's going to stand the test of time? And we look at student fit. And so, is this aligned with the student's personal goals and what they want for their career? That's obviously a very important question. And then affordability. What are the financial aid pathways into these programs, which I think there's a lot of questions about how we pay for these because it's oftentimes through different means than you would with your traditional 2 and 4 year options. And then there's the long-term mobility. Can students take these credentials and apply them to other fields or at other companies? That transferability is really what goes into what we think about as a high quality program and option. So progressive pathways, which that's our terminology, and it's another common term used in the college and career advising and support sector. These credentialed and workforce pathways, they expand options without lowering expectations. So really, helping combat the stigma that comes with these types of pathways. So the question is no longer college or not. It's not the binary. The real question is how do we define quality fit and long-term success? And so, yeah, it's not college or not. It's what's right for the individual student. To start us off, could you all sort of briefly introduce yourself and share a bit about the work that you do in supporting students and their pathways after high school? And what drew you to focus on workforce development programs specifically? Why don't we start with Carrie out in Staunton?
Hello, everyone. My name is Carrie Griffith, and I have spent 26 years in education so far, which seems like forever. This is my fourth year working with One Goal, and my primary goal once moving to Staunton, which is a rural community about 30 minutes north of St. Louis, was to implement certification programs allowing for the transition of kids to leave high school and be placed in permanent, hopefully, workplaces. So it's something I'm very passionate about, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you, Carrie. Why don't we go over to Marlon?
Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? I'm Marlon Jeffries. I'm the Director of Opportunity Build at Rising Sun Center for Opportunity in Oakland, California. We are apprenticeship readiness job training program for people who want to start careers in the building trades. I'm also alumni of the program. And for me, I think workforce development is important because I've experienced challenges at all levels throughout my life. I was an early high school dropout, and programs like this helped me change my thinking and find pathways for myself and others like me who are looking for family sustaining wages and prominent careers.
Thanks, Marlon. We're very glad to have you. And Alicia, close us out.
Hi, everyone. I am Alicia Williams. I am a teacher at Digital Arts and Cinema Technology High School in Brooklyn, New York. I am a special education teacher, but I'm also a One Goal program director. So I work with juniors, seniors, and even post-grads with designing their plan, their post-secondary plan, putting it into action. And then I kind of check up on them once they have graduated high school to make sure that everything is going as planned. If they need my support, I'm always in their corner. What kind of drew me into this work? Honestly, I will say I work side by side with my school's college and career counselor. And I would say for the most part, she works more on seniors and making sure that they are putting their plan into overdrive and making sure that they're doing the things that they set up to do. And I kind of help them with the planning process. I work with ninth, 10th, and some 11th graders, just making sure that they know all of their options, helping them figure out what they want to do, what interests them. We create this plan by the time that they're done meeting with me, and they take that plan and they take it to our college and career advisor to put it into overdrive.
No small feat. And doing that for as many students as you do, it's really impressive. So thank you all for joining. Alicia, oh, looks like, oh, I'm spotlighted. Okay. I saw something come up on Zoom. All right. So Alicia, we're going to start with you. I want to know how educators, and so I know you said you work with your college and career center at the school, but specifically educators, so people that are working directly with students in the classroom, how they're able to help students and families understand workforce pathways as intentional, high quality choices rather than, as fallback options.
Yeah. I think that the reason that these like workforce opportunities feel like fallback options is because they're not hearing about it until their senior year. So of course it would feel like a fallback. If we've been talking about college this whole time, ninth, 10th, and 11th grade, college, 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 and then it's like, oh, you don't want to go to college? Well, maybe try this. Of course that's going to feel like a fallback, and it's going to feel me as a student like, why would I want to do that when you've been saying college this whole time? I think it needs to be introduced at the same time. Like as soon as we talk about like college, we need to be bringing up all the other options that come along with college. So it never feels like a fallback option. It just feels like I made this option rather than this one.
Yeah, yeah, that makes so much sense. And I want to talk about that type of support for the students, especially ninth and 10th grade. But first, what I want to know what separates sort of like high quality pathways from those that may not lead to like as strong of outcomes as we're hoping for, and what that looks like on paper and how it falls short for students. Carrie, how do you think about quality when you're thinking about advising students, and what makes a good quality program?
Well, we've had to kind of change a mind shift with regards to that, because a lot of times we see success as students going into something and then them continuing on that pathway, when sometimes success for a student might be that they discovered that was something they didn't want to do. So it isn't always necessarily a downfall for them to change minds, figure something else out. And it's offering those opportunities, like Alicia said, from the very start of when they're in, I would say, junior high, to be honest with you, and maybe even later years of elementary, and bringing them up as a normality and a part of regular discussion through their senior year.
Marlon, I know that you're thinking about quality all the time in your role, and so yeah, I guess like speaking about your own program at Rise Up, what where how are you guys thinking about quality and setting students up for success?
I think for us, um, here at Rising Sun, quality programming is consistent of pathways that lead to job placement and retention, right? We already talked about early exposure, connecting with for high schools and schools, junior highs, middle schools, connecting with workforce development programs early so that people can learn about the type of programs that are in their communities so that it doesn't seem like a last option. We want to meet them where they're at. We want to make sure that they're getting the skills that's necessary when they come through a program, where the soft skills like resume writing, interview techniques, and networking, and providing trade related certifications. Like for our program, we're a construction trade program. We get people certified with OSHA 10 cards, first aid, CPR, and those are just things that get them started in entry level. And we want to make sure that they have the basic skills when they leave our program to start an apprenticeship program or start a career somewhere and be successful. And like Carrie said, if that's not for them, they know that. And then they can make an educated choice and try to provide find something else that works for them.
So Marlon, at Rising Sun, how do you think about the types of training and apprenticeship opportunities that you're offering students, and how they expand opportunities for students who traditionally might get left out of the conversation of post-secondary. So how are these types of programs really closing gaps and expanding opportunities for students who may not have uh, been talked about in the 2 and 4 year pathways?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think outreach is important. I think outreach is important. Recruitment, like we just mentioned, catching them early, getting out to these programs, or getting out to the schools, have apprenticeship programs. I see there's some apprenticeship programs. I've been to some career fairs, apprenticeship programs that come out to schools. Um, there's an opportunity for schools to do tours and field trips of apprenticeship programs and job site tours. And those are some of the ways that you can kind of expand the opportunities, because there's a lot of information that's needed and it takes time. And I think one of the things that we did, normally our program is mostly adult program. We with a focus on low income barriers to employment, women just as impacted. And last year was the first time that we piloted a program with youth, right? We had after school and a summer program. So we expanded the and these is local schools within our close to where we're currently located to our central location. And that's how we trying to help with this situation of getting more exposure and getting more people involved in the trades and just getting them to learn about the kind of work they would do.
Carrie, for you, I don't know if you can think of any like real world examples where maybe a student um, there wasn't like a clear option for them and what they wanted to do in terms of like going to get their associates or their bachelor's degree, but sort of the you saw the light bulb going off when they were exposed to some of these other options.
Yeah, definitely. When I first came to Staunton as a high school principal, they didn't have a pathway or a certification at all for a lot of things. And the first year I was there, I worked with a couple of students actually very specifically, who had that attitude that we all see, which is school's not for me. I don't know why I have to be here. None of this is going to pertain to me. I'm not going to be using the Pythagorean theorem. I don't know why I'm in this class. And I enacted a welding certification program working with our local community college. This was prior to our career center opening up. And once I did that, and those kids were put into that role, things changed. Their behavior changed, their attitude towards school changed, their attitude towards what they were going to do after school changed. They went and got their welding certification in the afternoon. All of a sudden, this meant something to them. And actually, both of them are still welding post graduation right now. So it was a remarkable shift in their perspective, having been allowed to pursue something that they were interested in instead of feeling like they were just spinning their wheels.
Yeah. It's so empowering to be able to like have those options at the ready for students, and you know not feel like they're hitting a wall when they're not seeing any pathways that sort of match their ambitions. Um, I want to turn this back to Alicia. Alicia, from your perspective as a teacher, I think teachers and educators, folks that work in schools, adults in schools, they kind of come to this with a bit of a bias because many of them have bachelor's degrees. And so there's like a knowledge gap there, about how to pursue these types of pathways. How did you sort of break through those gaps? And maybe how did One Goal help you like build on your skills and expertise to be able to be more knowledgeable and help students that have these types of questions?
Yeah, so I think that when I first started teaching One Goal, and I'm new to this program, and we are going through the curriculum, and I'm teaching them not just about college, I'm teaching them about pathways in the military and workforce pathways, and we're going through all of this, right? And a student once asked me, my first year, like, why should I consider these other pathways when you, who I trust and I'm supposed to trust, went to college and got a bachelor's degree and got a master's degree? And I was like, that actually kind of makes sense. Like, why should you listen to me, right? And it really challenged me to deepen the experience for my students. So I think the best thing for me and for my students, and what can be used for others, is we bring in other people that have taken these pathways. We bring in former students. It can be people from co-op tech that are plumbers, that are welders, that are carpenters, and that didn't take a traditional four-year college route and are still very successful. I think they can identify with that, and that feels real and relatable. Another thing that we have started to do is, because students will say you only take us on college trips, and I don't want to go to college. So we've been taking them to different, like I said, co-op tech and other places where they can learn about different trades if they're not interested in college. So I think that's how I kind of approach it as a teacher and as an advisor.
I love that. Yeah. And so it's sort of knowing what you don't know and bringing in folks with the expertise and knowledge to sort of fill those gaps. That's so like that makes so much sense to me. We had a question in our Q&A from Gordon, and he just said, "I hope you address access to apprenticeship programs." And I feel like this is Marlon, your time to shine. So I think like there's these different routes. So when we say non-traditional or progressive pathways, we're talking about trade school, we're talking about credentialing programs, we're talking about maybe it's like getting your CNA, for example. But there's also the apprenticeship piece, which is I think sort of it's like this mystery piece. Like what does an apprenticeship mean? What does it look like? How do students access these types of programs? And how do you know when it's the right program for students? So Marlon, I'd love for you to kind of help demystify that for us, if you could.
I think when it comes to apprenticeship programs, there are a bunch of different entry level pathways that know that one apprenticeship program entry level entry point is the same. So for some trades, you might have to take a physical test. For some trades, you might have to take an assessment test that's heavy on algebra or mechanical reasoning.
Mm,
So and trades don't always take applications. Some trades might take applications a couple times during the year. I've seen trades that take applications every 2 years. So I think that's where the career exposure comes in, right? Because someone who wants to be an electrician, potentially that journey could take 16 months to 24 months, right? So, and some of these other trades, people can get in a lot quicker. And for us, we try to have people come out from the trades who can talk about the entry points, who can talk about the benefit packages, the pay, and what a day looks like on the job, and what the apprenticeship program looks like. Because we're talking about young people who may not want to go to college or may not have ambition to have continued or higher learning. But when you go into apprenticeship program, there's going to be continued classes. You're still going to have to take classes to complete the apprenticeship program. So programs are from 2 to 5 years most times. So these are some of the things that apprenticeship program, those are how you would get in. And for us here at Rising Sun, what we do, like I said, we have people come out, talk to our classes, and we go on tours and field trips to the apprenticeship program and try to learn as much as we can about these programs. And sometimes, if that's the case, if somebody's dead set on getting in a trade that it may take a year or two, we try to connect them with some similar trade related employment that keeps them employed. Because when we're talking about our program, we're talking about low income people with barriers. Sometimes these people need money now and they need opportunities right after they graduate. So if I graduate today, and then you telling me I can't get to the electricians union until the end of 2027 or the end of 2028, right? That's a long time. So sometimes these pathways are challenging, but they also can be rewarding too. So that's the great thing about when you're coming out of high school and you're a young adult, and if you're trying to get into a trades. I talk to people in the trades and they tell me about their experience trying to get in. Sometimes they had to test twice or three times, or they was on the list for a while. But now it's 13, 14, 15 years later and they stuck it out. So it's a process. It's a challenging process, but it's a process. And anything, a lot of the things that we get in life, we're gonna have to work hard for. It's not gonna come easy. So this is one of those things where like there's a lot of reward in being in the trades. It pays well. Sometimes there's travel. You got good benefits. You're gonna get education, right? And then you're not gonna like for all these things, it's on the job training and the education. You don't have to pay back student loans or any of those things. So those are some of the benefits and some of the challenges
yeah.
that I've seen.
Yeah, I think you're naming something really critical, which is I think when we've mentioned earlier this idea of these pathways being fallbacks, and anyone who's you talk to an electrician and ask them, was this like your easy out, just to finding a career? These are highly technical jobs in some cases. that require a lot of, I mean, not just anyone can get into these programs. And that's something I think important for educators to know, that they do take, they can be challenging. But like you said, you know, high reward in many cases too. We had a comment, Brianna, you're really bringing us into the next part of this conversation from Brianna. She said, partnering with local workforce development board in your area could provide additional supportive services for youth career exploration. So true. And that makes me, I want to think about the types of partnerships that schools and districts need to be thinking about in order to bring light to these options and exposure to students. Carrie, I'm wondering for your perspective, sort of what makes a partnership with a high school strong and effective? And what do you think about when you're thinking about partners?
Well, number one is making sure that we're both on the same page with wanting the outcome for students to be what is best for them. I will say this, we're doing something new this year. And for those educators out there who have to do the Perkins grant for the federal funding for Perkins, that sometimes maybe if you're in a larger district, you don't even see that. In a smaller district, maybe it's on your desk. But a lot of times that's just filled out and submitted and done. And for those of you who have to do that, that's a great way to leverage having discussions with people in your community about what it is that they are looking for and where the gaps are in the workforce locally and how you can help. So instead of just filling it out, we have the meeting where we're going to invite local workforce people, career counselors, we're inviting teachers, we're inviting parents and students, we're inviting FFA representatives, rural school associations. We're going to get as many people in the room as possible because we need to be educated on that. Not always do we know what is available to the students. So we need to give people the opportunity to come to us and let us know where those gaps are so that we can sit at the table and try to figure out what way we're going to fill those.
Got it. So I guess like if a school is considering a new workforce partner, I guess what are the questions that they should be thinking about and before they do that? Marlon, you guys partner with directly with high schools, is that right?
We partner with the Alameda Office of Education, and they have a group of high schools that they working with that's close to where we're at, about 4 or 5 schools. So we on our pilot program last year, we had people come from a variety of schools. So working with the Office of Education, Workforce Development Boards, and closely with schools when you can, those are all great ideas.
I love that. We're going to pivot back to the classroom with a question from Allie. So she said, for educators in the room, what is the best way for a youth workforce program like ours to get information to you and to your students? So yeah, Alicia, um, help us. How's this information getting from these folks to teachers and to students?
I think that, well, first, me personally, right? I'm always looking for opportunities for my students. I want to always broaden the choices that they have. So I feel like for me personally, if you can get my contact info, I would love to share with my students. But I think in general, I think teachers, especially in the One Goal program, are always on the hunt for different opportunities. So I think reaching out to One Goal always shares resources with us. And I'm in constant contact with someone from One Goal. I probably talk to someone from One Goal once a day. So I think contacting One Goal gives us information daily. So I think that is the best way to like get to a wide group of teachers, students, and to different schools.
I love that. Yeah, One Goal, we love to be conduits for different groups, and so we do have direct contact with a lot of educators in the United States, and we can make sure that folks are knowledgeable and aware of opportunities if you share them with us. We'll get some contact info into the chat for you guys. So there was another question that was directed towards, let's see. Oh, yeah. So how important, this is an anonymous question. How important do you think it is to direct students to apprenticeship programs that provide them with college credit? So we're getting to like we call it like stackable credentials. And so this is the thing that contributes to what we would maybe classify as a high quality option for students. So these are things that are transferable. You get one credential and it leads to it can be counted towards a degree, or it helps transition you to another pathway to get more education. But I guess, yeah, like for you all as you're evaluating quality, maybe Carrie, if you could answer this one, are you thinking about that stackability and how to combine credentials for students? How important is that into the types of advising that you're providing students?
I think it depends on the student. We really do try, and being a rural community, we're kind of able to do that one-on-one approach, and assessing what it is that the student is wanting to gain and whether or not that is applicable. Maybe going and preparing for a union job, maybe the college credit isn't that applicable. Maybe it is. Maybe that's something that they would like to get as a certification through a junior college, and they intend to go on and maybe get further certification through a trade school or something else. So really it's meeting the kid where they want to go and being able to navigate those opportunities to allow for the kids to determine that, and then recommending opportunities if the kids don't maybe know what's appropriate for them, maybe going over those things with them during advising sessions.
Yeah. There was another question about what outcomes educators look for when evaluating whether a workforce program is truly setting students up for long-term success. So we've sort of talked about this, and I think that the question of quality, I think, is maybe the main theme today. When you think about college, opportunities for students, there are so many external validators and like accreditation, these traditional markers that we look at for college. We look at like underrepresented minority graduation rates, for example. A lot of times for the students in One Goal, we serve primarily students of color, and so what is the graduation rate? A lot of these workforce development programs, trade schools, apprenticeships, they're not mandated to report on a lot of this, and so when teachers are going looking for information about outcomes for students, it can be a little murky. So yeah, I think like what I'm picking up from all of you is just it requires a lot of research. And so I do think that's why maybe it's important to partner with folks like One Goal, to help you kind of make sense of that data, and we do sort of the heavy lifting for you in terms of evaluating quality. I'm wondering, and this is not to just like tout One Goal, because there's organizations like One Goal doing this important work across the country. I wonder if you could just kind of speak generically about your partnerships with organizations like One Goal. Alicia, Carrie, Marlon, whoever feels like, how has that partnership really helped you kind of cut through some of the noise, or make sense of and demystify some of the harder parts of this in terms of evaluating quality?
I would love to share.
Yeah, thanks.
As a teacher, right, it's already so many moving parts. Like I'm working with the kids all day, I'm working with adults all day, I'm juggling so many different things at once. And as I'm juggling those things, I'm also trying to juggle how I'm going to get the 20 students in my One Go class and remember all of their different interests and what they want to do and how we're going to get them there, and design all these different plans. So it can become so overwhelming. But I rely on One Goal and the people and my partners at One Goal so much. Like when I tell you, sometimes we even like split the coursework. I'm like, I need you to look into this for this student, and the next day, someone from One Goal is contacting me, like, I found these programs for this student. They should look into this, and this is perfect for them based on their transcript and where they're at and all these things. So I think One Goal has been a super big support for me because it is a lot of moving parts, and sometimes I just don't have time to do the research for different programs that live out there. And I rely so much on One Goal for that. That was
Alicia, throw out the name. Who's your director of teacher support out there that's offering
it's
classroom?
it's Marcus.
Marcus.
Marcus, and then last year I had Fatima. Both
Okay.
of
All
them.
right. I'm slacking them after this to let them know that because that it just like makes me so happy to hear that. Um, we have 5 minutes left. This conversation has kind of flown by, you guys, and there's like so many more questions we didn't get to. But I want to give everyone a chance to kind of like do some meaning making. I'd love to hear just like quick. Sorry, train's going by, and there it goes. We've got commuters in Chicago on their way home after work. So I'd love to hear one just like quick takeaway from each of you. If you could just leave educators and folks that are here with us in the webinar today with like one mindset shift around workforce development programs, what would that be? Marlon, why don't you start?
I think for me, just getting early exposure for the people that we want to serve so that they understand the pathways that's available to them. And that's critical and important. Partnerships with schools and workforce development programs is also critical because partnerships is key to the work we do because you need people on like we work with the Office of Education. They got career guides, we got case managers, career service. We need people meeting them where they're at and helping people get through this process efficiently.
Alicia, for you, what's one takeaway?
I think one takeaway and one mindset shift as a teacher and as an advisor is that all of our students and children are individuals and they need our individual time and care. Just because whatever these group of students are interested in a science-based career doesn't mean they're all going to do the same thing. They need us to talk with them, converse with them, get to know them, so that we can help them find the best pathway that works for them. If we are taking the easy way out, we are doing an injustice to them. So just remembering that they're all individuals and that they need our individual time and care.
I love that. And here I am plugging One Goal, but thinking about how to scale that individual support for every student. That's like what we wake up thinking about every day. So thanks for naming that. And then Carrie, why don't you close us out?
Yeah, I think it's making sure if you're an administrator out there that you're an advocate for your students and that you're celebrating all of the choices that students are making as they go out into the world, whether that's, we have people at graduation stand up for when they have scholarships. Why not have the kids who are having certifications also stand up? We do a career in college Wednesday where the teachers wear career or union or trade or college or whatever shirt, and they do it all year long. And then at the very end, we invite the seniors to also participate in that with what they're going to be doing post graduation. So I think it's making sure that everybody is celebrated no matter what the choice is that they are making and making all of those choices just part of the regular conversation.
Yeah, representation means a lot of things, and you just added another definition to that, which is thrilling to me. Like, yeah, let's make sure students see this, that it's visible, that it gives them something to get excited about, and it's celebrated at the same level as these, big brand name 4-year state institutions. So thank you all for our panelists for sharing your insights and expertise. I can't thank you enough. And thank you to our audience for joining the conversation. We had some really good questions out there, challenging ones. So thank you, folks, for being a part of this. We want to leave you with some strategies, inspiration, concrete direction to implement workforce development into your school's college and career advising plans. So we hope that today's conversation leaves you with some new ideas and connections for how to carry forward in your work. we hope to see you here for another great discussion in March. And that's going to be on practical strategies to take back to your schools and districts. I think this one is going to be supporting students through the summer and just helping students through transition. I don't know the exact title, but I'm excited about that one. But please follow One Goal on social media. You're going to find all the information about that on everything, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all those things. So keep following us and visit our website to learn more about how to partner with us. Look for case studies to hear from schools. I think we have some information about our partnership with Staunton, so you can get some more details about that. But head over to onegoal.org and we will see you all in March. Thanks so much. Take care. Thank you, panelists. You guys are great.